Hello guys, it is I, Frieza700. We are back with some Warhammer 40K lore. This time, we are talking about Fulgrim, his youth, and how he grew up before the Preheresy. Oh boy. So this is actually going to be a very interesting topic. The only reason why we do in this topic is because of the fact that you guys want some Emperor's Children lore. So let's do it with the Primarch. Hell yeah. Now, when the Primarchs were a baby and they all got sucked into space by the ruinous powers and launched across the galaxy, Fulgrim happened to land on a planet that's very similar to Conrad Kurz's planet. It's a manufacturing world, it's a mining world, and it's covered in perpetual twilight. It is shrouded in darkness. The only difference is that this world doesn't suffer from high crime. Instead, it suffers from just, well, what I would say is poor manufacturing. You see, this world chemos, or chemos, however the fuck you pronounce it, C-H-E-M-O-S, is a mining world where it's got no other resources other than, well, the raw materials in the dirt. So because of that, the people need to survive by trading. They need to trade those valuable minerals and ores for food. Well, the problem is that right now, the birth of Slaanesh happened. So because Slaanesh was born, there's a lot of warp storms throughout the whole galaxy. And because there's warp storms everywhere, it's very hard for people to travel interstellar travel. So because of that, it's very difficult for them to even find a buyer. But now here's an even bigger problem. Let's say someone finally does break it through and finds a stable trade route to chemos. Why are they still not getting food? The reason why is because they're not mining efficiently enough to actually have a surplus of minerals to sell them. So now the minerals they do have are immediately being put back into the factories to repair any damages, to just do standard maintenance. So because of this inefficiency, the world is basically doomed. Now, the strain on resources and the fact that they were getting absolutely no food meant that the population was on a slow decline. And because of this, they actually had open policies to just abandon culture, art, all this, because these resources need to be put back into the planet, not be used to enjoy the luxuries of life. There is no time to enjoy that. There is no possible way you can enjoy your life right now because of how short they are on everything. There was also some policies about killing orphans. Now, this was an extreme policy, but essentially, if you found an orphan on the street, just kill it. That was the policy. Just kill it, because it's a strain on resources to have this child just wandering around with no parents. So that's really rough as a society to endure. Well, would you know it, Fulgrim was kind of in a pickle. So Fulgrim crash landed on this planet that openly kills orphans, and he's an orphan. Oh god, this is not gonna turn out absolutely amazing. Well, here's the nice thing, is that there are 3 scouts that found him. And when the scouts found him, the way his pod crashed on the planet, it was near the hive city known as Calyx on Chemos. So the way that the pod crashed, it actually sprung open a leak of hidden water that no one knew was underneath this rock. Well, because of this, and because the child was so beautiful, the scouts figured he was a good omen. And the caretakers of the planet vouched for him, saying, you know, this child is too beautiful looking to kill, but also he brought water to this planet. He found a water source. That's something that we desperately need to live. So because of that, they named him after their deity of water, which would be Fulgrim. That's how he got his name. Isn't that fucking nice? That's really cool, you know? But now, as being an orphan, he wasn't raised as a warrior, he wasn't raised as a freedom fighter, he wasn't going to execute people as a judge. Because here's the thing, is that his planet, although it is a kind of oppressive society, it's not oppressive because the people at the top are evil. It's oppressive because they need to be. There are absolutely no resources on this planet to really get anyone that extra little bit of juicy steak or that extra bit of fries. No, there's no way they can afford that. So everyone's got to live on the bare minimums, and everyone has to work at peak time performance all the time. So that means that you have to spend over 14 to 16 hours a day in the factory, working long hours, and you have to constantly be doing a perfect job because this planet is in desperate need of resources. Now, mind you, the technology they're working with is actually outdated, and it's actually falling apart because the engineers aren't really too sure how to fix it. Well, Fulgrim, when he's about half the age of the other workers, so he's around like 5 years old, maybe around 6, he starts to work. Now, mind you, Primarchs age a lot quicker than us, but they also are much smarter than us. Well, the moment Fulgrim starts working, he immediately is able to work longer hours than everyone else, and he's able to do better work than everybody else. Because again, he is way stronger, so he's able to lift up those heavy mining equipment. He's able to drill in a lot harder than anyone else. And this is the interesting part. Because Primarchs are so smart, he was able to understand the mining equipment he was working with, and was actually modifying it to better increase its output and its efficiency. This gained him a lot of promotions, and this actually increased the productivity of the planet. Now, here's where it gets interesting. In order for Fulgrim to do anything worthwhile or meaningful to the planet, he'd have to rule it. But here's the thing, is that this planet isn't ruled by like a king, it's not ruled by a democracy, it's ruled by executives. It's a manufacturing world after all, so of course it's ruled by a corporation. And they only have a police force. They don't have actual military because there's no need. They've never had to fight anybody. So Fulgrim's kind of, he can't just rouse up a crowd and, stick it to the man. That's not the way this is going to work. Because after all, there's not enough resources to do that. But also, the people at the top aren't necessarily bad. They just made a few bad decisions. That's the only thing. They're not inherently evil. They're not inherently corrupt. And they're stuck in this hellbasket with the whole population. So trust me, these executives want exactly what the people want, which is for this planet, Chemos, to get the fuck better, to stop getting this bad omen. So Fulgrim not only rose through the promotions by, working hard and improving the technology he's working with and increasing the amount of productivity in the workforce, but this is where it gets a little interesting. In order to reach the top, it's not about who you know, and it's not about how good you are. It's about who you blow. So, of course, Fulgrim started to actually have wives. Now, he didn't have children, as far as we know. All we know is that he married a bunch of people. And it's not exactly sure if he was a polygamy type of marriage, where he had multiple wives at one time, or if he was more monogamous, where he just had one wife at a time. But, judging by how many wives he says he has, I think it'd be safer to assume polygamy, unless his wives just happen to die really fucking quickly. But either way, he married for two main reasons. One, he married because, he's human. He actually loves some of those women. But after his heart would break from them dying or whatever the fuck happened, he started to repress his humanity. And this is where you start seeing where Fulgrim started focusing more on his workload, on making sure the planet was better and safer, and making sure his planet actually prospered. Then, he started marrying women for political reasons. Now that's interesting. So, this is how he rose through the ranks and became the top executive of the world. He did it by working hard, making a name for himself in the workforce, but then he also started playing the political system and actually started marrying people's daughters and actually getting up and up and up and higher in the rank through just political scheming and such. This is very interesting. Now, as far as Fulgrim's military prowess, well, he never really had a fight. So as far as all the other Primarchs go, he's got very little experience with fighting. But that doesn't mean that he's not an able fighter. He still holds a sword even back then. So he must have at one point in time had to kill a few people or, deal with someone who probably would hire an assassin after him. Now, once Fulgrim started to become the executive, this is where the planet started to turn around. This is where the planet started to prosper. So Chemos now actually started to generate a surplus of goods. And as you recall at the beginning of this video, I said they didn't have that capability. All resources they made went back to the factory because of maintenance issues. Well, now that they're making surplus, they're actually able to send it out to traders and buy food. This was a new thing. Now people can actually divert extra time to other stuff. This is where Fulgrim reinstituted culture, art, all that fun stuff into this society. Now, Fulgrim knew he wouldn't be able to, conquer the stars or establish a massive empire with this world. No, but he was at least able to make them reach the stars. He was able to overcome their challenge, overcome that really difficult obstacle in their way, which was, how do they get peak efficiency on this planet to the point that they're able to actually prosper? Boom, Fulgrim did it. He sent out engineers far and wide into the galaxy to really study and learn other technologies, and then kind of come back to the planet and institute those technologies into it to make it mine even better. And then he made it where his understanding of technology increased, so that way he was able to personally modify all the equipment and make it where all the furnaces, all the factories, all the mining equipment was at peak efficiency. Of course, right when the planet was just about ready to set out and become a whole, world nation, that's where the Emperor comes in. And of course, the Emperor descends, and the moment the Emperor comes, Fulgrim immediately bows the knee. He doesn't say anything. He knows this man is definitely better than he is. But this is where it gets interesting. See, Fulgrim is a perfectionist at heart. He perfected a world that was down in its luck. Well, now he's reintroduced to his legion, and that right there is going to be his biggest challenge. How to turn 200 Astartes into a full legion. Because after all, it's been a lot of years since his legion had the Primarch, so there was only 200 left out of 100,000. That's not looking good. But Fulgrim's worked with worse. But this is where Konrad Curze and a few other Primarchs, this is why they're always judged and why they're always criticized. Fulgrim had a passion for culture, art, and society. He was very humanitarian. He loved the people. He even had wives. But Konrad Curze, he didn't have that drive. Instead, what Konrad Curze wanted was to judge people. He wanted to hold someone's life in his hands and say, nope, the scales are not in your favor, time to go to death. Then there's Vulcan. Vulcan loves the people, but he doesn't ever deem it justifiable to kill people. He always seems to protect people, no matter what. But then there's Fulgrim, who comes along and he shows that he didn't have to kill many people at all, and he made his world beautiful. Vulcan, he didn't really improve his planet, he just happened to live on it, and made it somewhat a safer society by beating the Eldar's ass. So this is where Fulgrim's a very unique Primarch in the sense that he didn't conquer his world, he didn't save his world from an outside threat. No, he just improved it. He perfected the world. And that shines in his legion and later in his personality, is that he is a perfectionist. He perfects everything. Besides that, this has been Freezer 700. I hope you guys enjoyed a little bit of lore on the Primarch known as Fulgrim. And if you guys liked, please comment down below. Tell me what you guys think. The next video after this is going to be a Necrons video, because I've been delaying that because I've been doing a lot of research onto the Necrons, because the Necrons are a little rough. But besides that, see you guys next time. Have a good day.